this decision has been taken because we think it is resolving the uncertainty that has been hanging over British business for the past 20 months. And people have been saying, look, we need to know what's happening with our supply chains. We need to know what is going to happen in terms of any tariffs or quotas that may arise between us and the other 27 countries. And what we're trying to do is really to bring some innovative thinking here and say, look, this is, if we were in government, and we're not, we accept that, we know we're not in government at the moment, but if we were, this is how we would want to conduct the negotiations.
But you know very well that may come to prevail because there may be a vote in Parliament and you indeed have asked for a vote in Parliament. It would provide
two solutions, one to the issue that businesses face and the other a good step towards solving the Irish problem.
Let's just push on there because I'm really interested. If, let's suppose you get the votes as you want in Parliament to insist on Britain staying in a customs union. Is it your position that Theresa May can stay in government, stay as Prime Minister to deliver the Brexit she says she doesn't want to deliver?
Evan, of course, I would love to see the government
of course you would, because you're in opposition.
Of course.
But is it your position that you don't say she has to resign as a result of defeat on that vote?
Look, this is not in our gift, as you well know. We cannot force the sitting Prime Minister to resign. The only people that can do that, as I understand it, are the 1922 committee, or she herself could take that decision, or it would have to go to the vote that says, you know, it's no confidence
Act.
Exactly.
So I just want to be clear. So if she loses that vote, because I think Tory rebels may be interested in this, if she loses the vote, are you going to say, we need an election, we need a confidence vote, get out of office, it's time for Jeremy Corbyn to become Prime Minister? Or will you say, there we are, now Theresa May, just carry on as you carry on most days?
Look, I think the real debate here will actually be in the Conservative Party.
Right. And but you're not going to call for it. Because, of course, the Tory rebels are not going to join you if they think this is about getting Jeremy Corbyn in number 10. But they will if it's about a customs union.
But that's why it's really important to understand that whatever we say the day after any vote does not actually change the facts on the ground, that this is not in our gift, it's in theirs.
Very interesting you're saying that, because that does sound to me like you're wooing Tory rebels by trying to say it's not about getting Theresa May out.
Let me say that the people that I'm interested in here are not the Tory rebels. It's actually the people out there who are in jobs that are dependent on these industries and that need to know that they're going to have jobs in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, and that's what the move that Jeremy's made today is going to facilitate.
Now, you said something really interesting in the first, and it's the phrase you've used all day, that this is a step towards solving the problem of the Irish border. It does not solve the Irish border problem, does it?
Absolutely.
However, Britain has committed to something that will solve the Irish border in the joint report that is being written up as a withdrawal agreement. And we have signed up to alignment of all relative regulation or relevant regulations that would, you know, be necessary for a border to be open. Are you signed up to that?
Look, I think there is a really difficult problem with the Irish border, and I think it's going to involve compromise on both sides, from us and from
it's all been agreed. We've signed. Britain has signed a joint report.
The government.
It's a withdrawal agreement. Are you saying you would renounce what they signed?
No, look. But don't try and bind us by what an incompetent Prime Minister has done.
Hang on.
To try and make sure that she can square the circle within her own cabinet.
But what are the Europeans going to think? Are they going to? Are you basically saying you don't stand by the agreement that was reached in December?
No,
okay.
Sorry,
you are standing by it, or you are or you're not. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Well, actually, I can dispute the premise of the question. Jeremy set out today Labour's position, and that is that we want to honour the Good Friday Agreement. We think it's absolutely fundamental that we have the border without infrastructure.
Well, everybody says all of this, but basically we've reached an agreement that says there will be alignment between the UK and the EU on product regulation if it's necessary for no border. And you are in agreement with that. You're not renouncing the agreement that Britain made in December. So, in effect, we are half in the single market as a result of that, aren't we?
And actually, we're not the government. We're not conducting these negotiations.
No. But it would be interesting. They'd love to know what you would do if you were. You're telling us some other bits of what you do.
Well, and I think what you've got to do is you've got to see how the whole political situation evolves, and with that we will try and always, as we've done today, keep one step ahead of the government, but do it in line with the principles that we set out in our manifesto, that we recognise the benefits of both the single market and the customs union.
You've been uncharacteristically sort of reticent about spelling it out, but we get the point. Barry Gardiner, thank you very much. Sarah Wollaston, now you are a supporter of a customs union of some kind.
That's right.
Why is that?
A customs union, even if that is a partial customs union, and it's about avoiding the serious unintended consequences of a no-deal, walk-away Brexit. It's not about trying to force the Theresa May to resign. Of course, I don't want to see that. But in some ways, I do think it may help her, because she will then be able to turn around to the 62 who are sort of threatening to sort of force her into a leadership contest. It will enable her to explain the reality. And the simple reality is this, that there isn't a parliamentary majority for a hard Brexit. And it allows her to go back to them, maybe say, you know, love to help.
I've done my best, guys.
I've done my best, exactly.
What can I do?
It is absolutely clear that the unintended consequences are very, very serious for business, the problem around Northern Ireland.
Just in on the parliamentary arithmetic, given a free vote, what would be the kind of the majority for a customs union, do you think?
Huge. Because we know there are very many ministers and many PPSs and other people who are currently not able to sign amendments, who would very much like to see us come to a customs arrangement of some sort. So I think this will help her.
What happens when Theresa May says, I'm treating this as a confidence issue? This is, the government stands or falls on this. Are you really going to walk through the lobby with Jeremy Corbyn?
But as we've heard, that's not practical, because the Fixed Term Parliament Act dictates that. And equally, the person who's actually, the people who are trying to force her into some kind of leadership challenge are the 62 who are on the other end of this, who actively
she might try to pull the wool. She
Brexit.
might try to pull it anyway, mightn't she? She might say, look, formally there's no thing that forces, you know, a confidence vote, but I will resign, and there will be chaos if my party does not back me. But back me or sack me.
Why would she do that? Because the consequences would be terrible. So I don't believe that will happen.
So you wouldn't believe her if she said that?
Well, I think it would be a very aggressive act. The right thing to do here would be to call those of us in who have very genuine concerns about this and talk to us about those concerns and see if we can find a way forward.
Why do you think she's given so much, actually since she became Prime Minister, to those 62, to what the ones who want the hard Brexit rather than soft Brexit, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I think that actually the parliamentary arithmetic is there, that we can't get away from that. There is no majority in Parliament or the Lords for a hard walk-away, no-deal Brexit. So there is going to have to be a compromise here that actually addresses the concerns, the inevitable fudge that we've had up to now around the Irish border. And that's also going to need to address things like regulatory alignment, because it's not just about the customs union. We have to look at all of this if we're going to resolve the issues.
So how is your position that we actually are going to have to align an awful lot of our product regulations with the EU in order to have no border?
Indeed.
Apart from the single market.
And we have been told that there will be no sector-by-sector deals. I mean, the idea that there's going to be a sort of special arrangement to allow us to give state aid is for the birds, frankly. And equally...
So the countries... I mean, the Tory party has the most enormous adjustment to make in its expectations, if you're right. I mean, because they're talking about a very different game.
But the alternative is that what we must do is explain to people what it means. So as chair of the Health and Social Care Committee, I've been listening to evidence around what the consequences would be just for pharmaceuticals, for example, if we have no regulatory alignment. You know, we're looking at the supply chains are extraordinarily complex for pharmaceuticals. So we're talking about, and even things like medical devices like dialysis tubing, which aren't manufactured in the UK. You know, we're looking at serious hold-ups at the border unless we have some...
Theresa May is going to give a big speech on Friday, sort of setting out the government's position. We think we know quite a lot of it. If she offers some morsel on a customs agreement, not a customs union, but we will seek a customs agreement, will that do?
I don't mind whether we call it a customs agreement, a customs arrangement or a customs union. What it has to do is address whether or not we're going to see serious hold-ups at the border, and is it going to address the Northern Ireland issue, that we can't keep fudging. We need to have those issues addressed, or we need to explain to people genuinely what the consequences are. They could publish, for example, the economic impact analysis, and we need to have a serious discussion about what it means if we have a hard Brexit.